Hello and welcome to Community Spotlight. I'm one of your hosts, Diane McCarthy, and with me today I have Terry Curtis and Brian Campbell, both who are candidates for the Library Board of Trustees. Hello and welcome.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. So we'll start off, just tell me a little bit about yourselves. How long have you lived in Goffstown and what brought you to town?
Do you want to start or do you
Go ahead.
Okay. I actually came to Goffstown to go to college at St. Anselm. I did grow up in New Hampshire, in Merrimack, but I met a Goffstown boy and have actually, as I like to say, never left. We bought his parents' house on Church Street in 1988, and I've loved it ever since.
Fantastic. Got to watch out for those Goffstown boys.
I know, they're really cute.
How about you, Brian?
So I'm originally from Houston, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I moved here when I was high school aged and lived in Windham and Nashua. I moved to Manchester when I was a little bit older. I met my wife, and we bought a house in Goffstown in 2009, just because of the community and the schools, and we were starting a family, so this seemed like a pretty good place to do so.
Well, we're glad to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
Definitely.
Happy to be here.
For sure. So you're both incumbents. Why don't you share with us your level of knowledge as to the workings of the Library Board of Trustees? And why are you running for re-election?
Well, I'm actually running for election because I was appointed to my position. There was a vacancy. I was, though, on the library board in the late 90s and early aughts. My background is actually as a librarian. I have a master's degree in library science. I worked for the New Hampshire State Library for a number of years as primarily a lot of consulting on electronic digital libraries. And then when the Department of Information Technology was created with the state, I moved into that department. And actually, by the time I retired, I was the CTO for the state. So I have a lot of library background, a lot of library experience, but I also have a considerable amount of experience working with parties that might have similar goals, but different objectives on how they achieve those goals, and having to work with multiple commissioners from several agencies, work with the legislature, work with the governor's office on making those ideas come alive, how to fund them, how to staff them. Those are experiences that go beyond my library training that I think will really help, especially as we start trying to do additional long-term planning for the library. We know we have to live within the footprint that we have. So how do we do that and still be able to expand library services? How do we do that and maybe come to the same objective, providing more space, providing more programs, but maybe not with the same, it has to be by enlarging this footprint. And I think my experience over the years in trying to negotiate those types of things will really be useful and helpful for the library.
Fantastic. How about you, Brian?
So I have a background in project management and planning, production planning and things like that. I don't have the library background. I was elected last year. I ran for a spot that had been vacated. So there was a year left in the term. So I ran for a one-year term. And over the course of the year, I've gone to various New Hampshire Library Trustee Association courses and sort of learned the legalities and the processes. I've learned from my board mates, I guess you could say. So it's been a good year for me for just basically being a human sponge and listening and paying attention. And toward the end of the year, I was comfortable enough to start offering my own opinions and getting more involved in the process. I also am an independent writer. So I come to the library as an author. I've published 6 books. So I have that background, and being a project manager and a planning manager, I've worked with people of various backgrounds, and we accomplish common goals. So I have that background as well. The reason why I'm running to be a trustee is because I love the library. I love the programming, the resources. I'm a strong advocate for the library, and personally love going to the library. I love being at the library, so I really want to support them and support the people there. And I have a pretty strong passion for the First Amendment rights of both writers and readers. So it's important to me that we have a strong library with good programming and good resources. And I would hate to see something like that start to go away.
Sure. So that brings us to my next question is, what do you think some of the biggest challenges are facing our library?
I think we both hit on them. I think we are talking about appropriate space, the appropriate type of facility, and we are talking about First Amendment rights. We are talking about making sure that the library is a place for everybody. So libraries are more than places for like book nerds like me. I grew up in my local public library, in the children's section when I was younger, and so excited when I was finally allowed upstairs into the main part of the library. But we need to make sure that libraries are presenting all points of view, that we have materials there for lifelong learners. It's not just picture books. It's not just books at all. It's not books that are in print that are tangible. It's electronic books. It's access to information and materials. And more importantly, it's the staff of the library as well, because sometimes it's overwhelming. All of that information, all of those different places where people can find information. Oh, just Google that. Well, talk to a librarian, because they're going to be able to help you cut through all of the noise to get you the information that you're looking for. So I think space planning is a huge issue, but on the larger stage right now, we've seen all of the issues that are going around nationwide, and it's not just in Goffstown where people are concerned about children accessing things, different types of materials. And those are big issues.
And that is one of my next questions, talking about, the library has been a hot topic lately, and in terms of your book bans, as well as their relevance and value to the community. What do you see as the Library Board of Trustees' role in mediating those discussions as they arise? We'll start with Brian, if we can.
I think it's really important for a board member to understand what's happening in the climate. We have a challenging political climate right now. And it's really important to understand that we have to have a policy-driven approach to challenges as they come up, and not just use our own opinions. We have a policy for book challenges. There's been some sweeping book ban requests in our town. Entire genres they would want removed from certain libraries without looking at a book, without reading any of the books. So it's important for a library trustee to not only understand what the challenges are, but to create policy that addresses them appropriately, and to follow those policies when various challenges come up. And it's not just book bans or people wanting to move books from different sections of the library, or it's any type of a challenge that comes up with the library. One of our challenges right now, I wanted to just mention, was we're not ADA compliant. So we have our space issues that everybody's aware of, but we have access issues throughout the library. If a person's in a wheelchair, they can't maneuver through the library on their own. They need help at certain corners and places like that. The bathroom is not ADA compliant. Hate to bring up bathroom. That's been a hot topic for a few years, but it's important, and it's something that needs to be addressed, and it's something that we need to look at.
Well, that's it. If you are in a wheelchair, if you are somebody who requires the ADA access, you either can't use our library, or you need to leave our library if you need to use the restroom. It's not okay.
No, not at all. No.
Right. think it's important for people to realize that the Board of Trustees have the legal and the fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the library is governed appropriately. It's our job to make sure that we hire the right people to actually implement and follow those policies. We take input from those people on how we write and how we pass various policies. As that governing board, the members of this board, members of boards in past, they take that extremely seriously. We want to make sure that we are able to address proactively rather than reactively issues that might be coming, and that goes to Brian's point about understanding the climate and understanding some of the issues around libraries today, so that we're proactively addressing those things, so that when somebody says something like a book challenge, well, yes, we've reviewed our challenge policy. It's not 10 years old. It is a year old. And we've looked at it and we've addressed it for things that we think people are going to want to question, to make it fair for everybody.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
So why should voters choose you to serve on the Library Board of Trustees?
Sure.
Terry's ready.
I'm ready. I am passionate about libraries. I am passionate actually about the Goffstown Public Library. It is one of the things I adored when I moved to Goffstown. I lived in the village at the time, and being able to walk to the library and take my daughter to story time with Betsy Elliott. And Goffstown has always had a very strong, proactive library, very vital. And helping it become what it can is very important to me. I was on the board when we did the expansion, when we were able to finally open up the third floor, that lovely pocket window that gives you that gorgeous view of the mountain. But more than that, it gave us more space to be able to do things in the library, expand our services. How do we do that going forward? That was 25 years ago when I was doing that. I want to be part of doing it now as it's moving forward. And I think I have the passion, the drive, and the skill sets to get some of that done.
Okay, thank you. How about you, Brian?
I'm going to echo a little bit of that with the passion for the library. And I think most people on a library board would have passion for the library and they would support the library. And, you know, I have a passion for supporting not only the library, but the staff in the library. You can tell when you go in there and someone assists you or just is there for you when you need help, how incredible they are. The customer service level in that building is off the charts. It's a great place, and there are people there who care very deeply about having the resources and the programming for the citizens of Goffstown. And not only that, but getting excited about sharing them with people who come in, the patrons who come into the library. And I think it's really important for somebody to support them and to echo that to the rest of the town, to make sure that people understand what we have here and who we have working there and how when you go in there, you're taken care of. And, you know, there is something for everybody. And I really wish people would come and see that and just check it out for yourselves. So I'm an advocate for the library. And like I said, I am passionate about the First Amendment. I want to continue to work for the library because we're presenting projects and things like that, and they get deliberated. And I understand people, you know, we're in a tough situation financially, and taxes have been raised because of last year's inflation. And people want to reduce the amount of expenses to as much as humanly possible without taking away too many services in the town. But I think as a library trustee member, it's our job to point out what the library needs and to say, these are the things that we need to work on. These are the things we need help with from the town. These are the things we might need some funding to cover. It's up to the voters to look that over and to weigh their decision and to accept them or reject them. I can't imagine a trustee member who doesn't even want to bring those questions up, who doesn't want to bring that forward. And that's what I fear, is that there won't be a voice for what the library needs. So that's why that's one of the reasons I'm running, along with the passion and everything else.
Okay.
If I could add,
Sure.
one thing that I would strongly encourage everybody in town to do is to get their library card. You can, this isn't, 40 years ago and past. You don't have to ever step into the library after you've gotten that card to be able to make great use of the resources that the library has to offer. Because there are electronic resources, there are books online. I bought Brian's book that way. I read Brian's books that way. It's not something that you always have to be physically in that building to be able to take advantage of. So please, it's a resource. It's an important resource in this town. And take a few minutes, get that library card, and see just what type of resources that you can have available while you're still at home. I think you'll be amazed.
Wonderful. Is there anything else that you would like people to know?
Oh, there are so many things I'd like people to know about libraries. But I think the most important is libraries are truly one of the only places in town government that is for 100% of the people who live in the town. People will talk about schools, or people will talk about police or fire and things like that. And yes, they benefit everybody in the town in many intangible ways, whether you have children or not, whether you've ever had a medical or a fire emergency or not. But the library, you can have tangible results for every age group. And I think people overlook that oftentimes.
Yeah, I would say the same. For people who haven't been to the library, or maybe aren't sure what goes on there, just go to the website and check out the calendar. Look at the different programs. They're categorized by age groups. They're lined up for months at a time, so you can take a good look and see all of the programming that's in there. It's amazing. There's definitely something for everybody, and I would encourage people who haven't been to, if you don't want to come to the library, at least go on the website and look. You might find something that you had no idea that they're doing there. Like the Friends of the Library have a seed library for people to start their gardens. It's a seed exchange, and you can go and you can have different types of plants, and there's museum passes. There's a lot of things that, it's not just a stack of dusty books. There's some really great programming for all ages, and like I said before, just amazing people who are not just willing but excited about sharing it with you. So I would definitely advise people to take advantage of that.
Absolutely.
Definitely. All right, then, that does it for us. Thank you so much for your time and for being here. I wish you both very well on your campaigns. Election day is coming up. It will be here before we know it. If folks want to learn more about you, you're both on Facebook. You both have social media pages
Yes.
for your candidacy.
I don't have one for my candidacy, but that's a great suggestion, and I will put one together.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Okay.
same. I don't have a candidate web page, but I'm constantly posting things about the library on
Yes,
the
you
various
are.
community pages. You can find me there. Feel free to shoot me a message, or comment right on my posts.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And for those of you who are watching, thank you so much for joining us tonight. That does it for Community Spotlight. We'll see you next time. Thank you.